Hi there, I am Housing Holly. For many of you who do not know or read my quarterly newsletter, what you don't know about me is my extensive knowledge of fair housing and tenant rights. So let me start by throwing some knowledge at you. According to the 2014 U.S. Census data, the total U.S. population consisted of 317 million people. Out of those 317 million people, a little over 27,000 housing discrimination complaints were filed throughout the U.S. That means that only 0.0086% of the total U.S. population reported an act of discrimination in their efforts to secure housing within our whole country. With the current injustice towards individuals of race, disability, national origin, sex, and more, you're only telling me that less than 1% of the population have filed a housing discrimination complaint? In 2015, the EEOC reported that over 89,000 individuals filed a workplace discrimination suit, which is still only 0.028% of the population. Yet in a study conducted by HUD in 2005, it showed that 1 in 7 adults have experienced some form of discrimination within the workplace, housing, or going about their daily lives. That means over 15% of individuals within the U.S. face some form of discrimination. However, less than 1% of our population has reported these acts of injustice. Which leads me to fair housing. What is it, you ask? Fair housing is your right to have access to decent and affordable housing, regardless of your race, color, religion, national origin, familial status, and disability, among other protected classes, depending on the state that you live in. If you really think about it, everyone is part of a protected class. I am, you are, and even children. Therefore, if a landlord fails to rent a unit to you because of your race, or because you are a single mom or have a disability, that is covered by the Fair Housing Act, and the landlord has violated your rights. So let me take you back to 1866. In 1866, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 was passed, which granted all males born to the U.S., regardless of race, guaranteed all U.S. citizens the right to purchase, lease, sell, or hold personal property. Then, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy issues the Executive Order number 11063, which prohibited the act of discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, or national origin in federally owned, operated, or assisted housing. 2 years later, Congress enacts the Civil Rights Act of 1964, where Title VI of the Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. Discrimination and segregation were still prevalent within our country during that time. Unfortunately, it wasn't until April 4th, 1968, after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, for our country to see any real progress. It was exactly 7 days later that President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1968 into law. Title VIII of the Act, known as the Fair Housing Act, prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, or national origin in the sale, rental, or financing of housing. Later, in September of 1988, the President Ronald Reagan signed the Fair Housing Amendment Act into law. This act added individuals with disabilities and familial status to the list of protected classes to strengthen the enforcement of the fair housing law. So if you really think about it, it has only been 49 years since the Civil Rights Act has passed to free the barriers so that all individuals, excluding disability and families with children, have an equal right to housing free from discrimination. It has been 55 years since discrimination was prohibited within our country as a whole, and 29 years to provide the same protections for families with children and individuals with disability. However, today, 1 in 7 people within the U.S. have experienced some form of discrimination, and that is only the individuals who actually participated in the study. So that brings me here. Living free of discrimination has been a constant battle that has rocked our nation for over 150 years and still has yet to allow individuals to live within our country without experiencing discrimination based on the color of your skin, the amount of children you have, because you are a man or a woman, because you are born with a disability, or in some states, because you serve our country. It is an uphill battle that many organizations throughout the U.S. have spent years and money trying to defeat these challenges so that our children and our grandchildren can live in a country where no matter what you look like or where you're from, they can have access to decent schools, transportation, jobs, and housing without facing the struggles that U.S. citizens face today. So who am I? My name is Holly Rondini. I've worked for Fair Housing Resource Center, Inc., located outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and have spent over 7 years trying to conquer the discrimination within my community to ensure all individuals have the right to decent, safe, and affordable housing. To educate individuals on their rights to have access to housing without barriers, and to prevent discrimination from becoming rampant within my community. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." Let's keep this nation moving forward by not judging the cover of a book, but the person on the inside who really counts. Click the link below for more information on fair housing. Please subscribe to my channel and look out for upcoming videos. If you want to ask a question, shoot me an email at housingholly@gmail.com. Thanks so much for watching, and Housing Holly out.